shadows are. So you'll be forced to go away with all the layers and you start over again. Are you that patient? After spending 16 hours, now, after taking a coffee and then you are awake, you realize you have done a mistake. Will you delete the layers, start over again, or you'll just say, let's go? It depends with you. There are many types of editing techniques. You can just touch up either Lightroom. There are many softwares that you can use to edit your images. You are not forced to just edit with Photoshop. You can edit with Lightroom. There is Capture One, Photoshop. There is Bridge. I think Bridge is free. Yeah, Bridge is free. I love Lightroom. It's make my work easier. And most of the time I end up doing Photoshop. But if you edit an image on Lightroom and you feel you're done, it's not a must to go to Photoshop. But it depends with what you shoot and what is your style. That's just for the touch-up. Because most of the time, you'll notice it's sometimes not about editing, it's about your client. If your client, they are skilled, they are well taken care of, wameoga, it's not a must you edit your pictures, because you realize they don't have spots. It's a guy. He doesn't have spots. What are you going to do in Photoshop? And studio, when you're shooting the studio, it's not like outside. Say outside. You have got a client. You can see how it is, right? You have got a client. I'm telling you, I have paid you, let's go and shoot. For the studio is a control room. That means when you're taking the picture, you can get it right immediately. Right? That means if they are skin, they are very nice. You just come, do touch up with the small mistakes, and you are done. Then there is a frequency separation. There is a frequency separation after the touch up. You can spend time learn about frequency separation. There are very multiple ways. It's like maths. The way we say, you can use different formulas to arrive at the same results. Same to frequency separation. There are many techniques. Just go learn, know which technique is good for you. It's easier for you. Are we together? But when you're learning frequency separation, maybe you find a Gaussian blur where you blur the skin is easier. I would recommend. Just forget about it. Find another way. So, forget about it. Even if it comes on top when you're looking for frequency separation, just don't take it. So, then there is this, there is a dodge and burn, where you just dodge and burn, no frequency separation. Although you can combine frequency separation and dodge and burn. But there is a war. There are some groups I see on Facebook. It's just for the high-end retouch. And for them, they say, if you are doing the high-end retouch, it's a must. You do dodge and burn. If you do frequency separation, it's a filter. And the moment you share an image on their platform, it's deleted. It's a guarantee it will be deleted because they regard the frequency separation as not a professional way of editing the image, the high-end retouchers. They regard dodge and burn. But at the end of the day, just know the kind of your clients. Because if a client can pay you good money, you can do Dojet ban. But if the image, they are needed within some hours, just go frequency separation. It depends, at the end of the day, it depends on how you are going to master the techniques. Then there is a hue adjustments. For the inverted hypers, is the moment, like most of the times when you are doing either Dojen ban or frequency separation, especially for the frequency separation, if you are not very keen, you will notice you will end up having a very soft skin. Maybe 40 years old mama having a 20 or 16-year-old skin tone. Sometimes you can recover your details by the hypers technique. Although, apart from hypers technique, maybe you can go back to Lightroom, you can sharpen your images, or you can unmask. Unmask, it's another way of sharpening the images. But I prefer this. Most of the times, when you're using the hypers, if you go very high, you will notice this too high. Because at the end of the day, you'll notice there is another layer on top. Now you can just come down. Any question? Any question? A quick one. What can make your image or break your image? It's framing and composition. Framing and composition. There are many guidelines about the compositions. I think there are more than 20, right? But it's a divisible. Get to know these guidelines of composition. The moment you know them, break them. But you can't break something that you don't know. Sometimes I'll compose the picture very nicely. I will look at it at the back of the LCD. I'm happy. I'll go back to the Lightroom. I'm not happy about that image. I will crop it. And most of the time, the moment I crop the image, I see it's a very good image. The best thing, if you want maybe about the composition, if you want your images to stand out, just go and make use of that tool, the cropping tool. Crop it, do trial and error, see how the image will be. So, then the other thing is lighting. We have talked about lighting. You will notice our cameras, they have got green button, right? Green button. That means it's good and it's ready to pass the road. See now? So most of the time, you will notice me and you, we can have a well-exposed image. And if I give someone, maybe a Canon, it doesn't have the pop-up flash, 5D, 6D, and so on. They don't have the pop-up flash. That means if they go the green mode, chances are, if the weather is good, they will end up having a well-exposed image. Same as you as a professional. Whether you're using aperture, shutter speed, program, or manual, sometimes you will end up having well-exposed image. Now my question is, What makes you stand out from that guy who is using auto and you using either aperture priority or manual? What makes you stand? At the end of the day, is light. Apart from the composition, lighting. How do you light your subjects? Master your lighting. The moment you master your lighting, you create a gap between others and you. You add up on composition. You become on your own. So, because without light, there is no image. That's why most of the time, I will walk around. Instead of going to look for a perfect location, I will be going. Sometimes I can just go to Arboretum. I'm not going to look for a good location to take a picture. I will just go and see how the sun will light a particular place. I'm looking for the light, so that the moment I'm going for my next project, I can be able to know this place has got great lighting. That's where I'll go, and I can spend hours. Same to the studio. Start with one light. Start with one light. The moment we introduce another light, even this, the moment we even introduce another light, all this, make sure all know the reason why you need it. Don't introduce just for the sake of introducing it, all just because you have got 3 lights and reflectors, you can just use them. Start with one light. You will be able to know how to position your lighting, and the moment you are going to introduce either reflector or another light, it will be easier for you to know whether to do away with the shadows or to soften the shadows. Then you have got facial expression. Facial expression. At the end of the day, your pictures might be having well exposed, very sharp, very good lighting, but they are dead. There is no communication between your images and the viewers. How do you communicate with your subjects? Are you the guy who tells the guys, just go there, stand, and start taking the pictures? Or do you engage them? Do you have clues that the moment you can talk to them, they can respond? Or you are the guy who will just say, smile. Maybe they really smile in their life, and then you are telling them, smile. How are you going to smile? I really smile. And you see, the moment you enter into a studio, you get intimidated by the lights. It's not a familiar place. And then you are there as a photographer telling the subject, please smile. You need to find the cues, how to engage your subject, so that the moment you're communicating with them, they can be able to respond in such a way, and then you end up having facial expression. For the pose, also, it depends with you. What do you want at the end of the day? The easiest way for posing, just make sure any straight line is not in the same level as the others. Our bodies, they are lines. And you go on social media, everyone is fighting why we don't photograph men, because the ladies is an art by nature. Even a car, most of the time they find an art from ladies. Just know how to play with the lines. Simple as this. You can see my hands, they're in a straight line, same level. Just avoid it. Make sure one is high, one is up. Same to the shadows. Shoulders. Just make sure one is up, one is high. If you don't know how to pose the guys, just make sure one is up, one is high. Never photograph the guys in a straight line, not unless there's some exceptional, like the requirement of passports. If you deal with passports, now we can forgive you, because there's some mandatory, someone faces the camera straight. right? Both the posing and working with your subject, just know what we see first. What we see first. What we see first. Like here, I'm standing. I'm very dark, right? But around me, there are some lights, there are some elements. The first thing that you'll see before you see me is this light, and then this, and then this. Same to you when you're photographing. Maybe you're working in a room and it has got a socket like that. Someone is standing behind it. And maybe you don't move them or you don't mask it, you don't hide it. At the end of the day, if you don't do away, those guys who say we don't do Photoshop, at the end of the day, the moment you share such image, the first thing that you will see is the socket, and then your subject. And then you say, tunakuonea, hatukuonei wewe, au kutoa sockets. Sindo? Directing the eye, directing the eye, directing the eye, directing the eye. Sometimes your posing might be bad, but the eye has got some message. How you direct the eye is very essential to your images. Are you together? Like, the easiest way, just avoid the white parts of the eye. Just avoid the white parts of the eye. If possible, even if the guy is turning this way or this way, and giving the head straight, maybe the shoulder pointing on one side, either side, and the head towards you, just to make sure the pupil it's at the center, so that you can have a communication between your subject and the audience. Because most of the time, when you end up having the white part dominating your eye, we see those eyes are dead and shocking. You don't want that in your subject. And then, if possible, whether you are dealing with any subject, there is a way, we call it squinching the eyes. The more, there is a difference when the guy is just looking at you like this, and when they are squinching the eyes. You can see, not closing the eyes, but squinching the eyes. There is a true communication, because I can just look at you like this. Yes, I will get my image while I'm smiling, or I can decide I'm not going to smile and I can squinch my eyes. You can say. You will have totally different images. If you can notice, what you see first, the last thing, what is in focus, is the last thing. That means we care much about the images, how does it communicate, and less about what is in focus. Because sometimes the image might be very good in focus, but very flat. The image might be having soft focus, but very good. So, what is in focus? It's an essential. As compared when you are composing your image and the elements to show. A quick one, hard light. How do you get the hard light? From relatively small light source, like this, or like this. Still a soft box, but you can compare the surface area between the two. Which one will be much softer? Yeah, this one. Yeah, but still you can brag, I've got a soft box. Or when you're using the light without modifiers. Then for the soft light, from relatively larger light source, all same size, but very close to the subject. We'll end up having soft light, or it can be very small, but your lighting is very close to the subject. We'll end up having soft light.
So for hard light, what the distance should your subject be from the light?
Hard light. For example, I stand here and my light is there. At the end of the day, you'll end up having hard light. But if I move closer, you'll end up having soft light. The light source, the softer the light. The closer the light source, the softer the light. Soft light is equals to bigger source plus closer to the subject. There is in between, not hard, not soft, has contrast and semi-soft. Examples are beach, screen, umbrellas, all depending on placement. They have said placement, and parabolic shaped modifiers. Parabolic means, for this one, the space between the head and the edge is not that deep. The parabolic, it might 2 times of this in terms of the deepness. The way I talked about the feathering, don't use this part, but most of the time use the edges. Yes, sometimes you might fear you are losing a lot of light, because the moment you start feathering, you'll notice maybe you're using this part and the other part, it's being wasted. You are not wasting. Yes, most of the light is going to other direction, and then small light is going to the subject, but you are making use of your lighting modifier. How to control shadows. You can use the second light. The best thing with using the second light, you can adjust your light. Not unless you are using very old lights. There are those old lights that the moment you plug in on the power, they just give you full power. You can't control them. Not unless maybe you use another cloth in front of them. But if you're using the modern ones, like this one, the best thing you can use, instead of using the reflector, you can use a second light and you can be able to adjust your lighting. Or you can use a reflector, but most of the time, when you're using either golden part or silver part, most of the time you end up doing away with the shadows. If possible, you can use the screen part, white. It will reflect very minimal light. Instead, if you don't want to do away with the shadows, you will soften them. You won't have deep shadows, but soft shadows. And that's the end of our class. Do you have time? We can shoot. Do you have time? Okay. Someone can volunteer, maybe a lady and a gent, to be a subject. Do you have triggers? Trigger. We'll start with, what is this? Yeah, we'll start with speedlight. Yes?
When you say the closer you have the light, the softer it is, I'm sure where you are, if you move closer to that light,
It will be softer.
it will be softer.
Yeah.
Or with a touch.
It's a good example. A good example is like sun.
Yeah.
Sun.
But
You see, when the sun, for example, when it's cloudy like this,
yeah,
what do you get? Do you get the harsh,
very soft.
all soft light? Higher at noon. We have got a lot of light, but what's the end result when you take a picture? Remember,
It's because of the angle. The angle.
yeah, it's. But at the end of the day, do you get a contrast or a soft light? Without using any lighting modifier, you are just using the sun.
You get a harsh.
Why?
Because the intensity is high.
Yeah, intensity is high, and the distance between you and the sun is too huge. If you are to bring the sun down, you are going to have very much light, but very soft light. How many guys knows how to use speed light? Not about controlling the amount of power. Yes? These are old and modern speed light. You can see how flat it is, right? When it's like this, it's a narrow angle. When it's like this, it's a wider angle, right? Wider angle. For example, if I want to take a picture full length, I won't use like this. I'll have to use it like this. And then we have got millimeters, 24 millimeters to 105 millimeters. Maybe I find for this one 24, 105, not unless you are using off-camera flashing, it makes sense. But the guys who use on top of the camera, it doesn't make sense. Not unless now you invest on the Canon Nikon flash. If you're using a lens of 85, you can zoom to 85. It's 24, you can zoom to 24, and so on. But when it's here, it doesn't make sense. Are you together? Because for the 24, it means it will spread wide, but at a short distance. For 105, long distance, but narrow, not big. Narrow, long distance. You can do an experiment. You can take maybe 10 guys or 5 guys, take an image at 24 mm. You will realize each and every one will be well exposed depending on your settings. Take another image when you zoom in at 105. You will notice the guys at the edges won't have light, but the guy at the center will have more than enough. Are you together? And then there is a wide angle. I can extend my 24 to something 14 mm, because the moment you activate it, it is going to press the light back, and most of the time you're going to struggle. The moment it struggles to come out, you're widening the angle. Instead of using 24, you're using 14 mm, all 10 mm. Now, remember, I talked, you can be able to use this creatively by closing down, but don't close it down and maybe you're using the speed light at 24 mm. It doesn't make sense. Close it down and zoom in the light so that you can angle your light. Are we together? Don't close it down and still you're using 24 mm, and to make it worse, this one is down. So, there are new models for the Godox AD200. The best thing with the AD200, it comes with this, and you can replace it with the bulb. Remember, for this one, the light just goes straight, but for the bulb, it's all round, straight and edge to edge. Yeah. You can't use these ones.
You don't. This or for the. So you can put the persons in the slab mode.
Just stand. Just stand. Yeah. Yeah, wait. Just wait. See, my lens is telling you I can just return it and then you give me signal.
We'll talk about that at the show.
You have this, right? The triggers and receivers. Although for the young viewers, you don't need to buy both. You don't need to buy both. If you have got NOS money, you can buy both. But if you don't have cash, you can buy the young new trigger, right? I have this. I use various lights. They are universal. You can use any other light. See, even for the flash, I can use it with flash. Or I can have just cables. Even the lights, they have got their own native trigger. You don't have to buy them. But at the end of the day, if I have this, I can negotiate with them. They remain with their trigger. They discount me, and I use the cables. Now, so we'll start with this bare. Which one do we use? Okay, switch these off. Anyone can help me with this? Since I'm giving away the flash, I can start at 1/8. Doesn't mean I'm going to burn the flash. Or a quarter. Let's start at a quarter. There. You see the effects. Come stand here. You can switch this light off. Just sit here at the edge. Okay. Sasa nitolee iende huko.